All right, so I'm going to share with you how I review for Magnum Theory and how I structure my daily practice. As I show you how I do that, I'll talk a little bit about the why as well. So one thing I do is I use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an AI tool that can generate material for you, and if you learn how to use it, it can help generate practice material for you. It's a little bit quirky, and there's some tips and tricks that I've kind of figured out. You're not going to get great content every single time you ask it to do something for you. But here's a couple of things that I found out. So one thing I use ChatGPT for are to create drills. These are names or number drills. You can ask ChatGPT for fake information or random information, and it generally will provide that for you. If you ask it for sometimes you'll ask it for something and it can't give you a phone number. But if you ask it for a random phone number or a fake phone number, it'll give that to you. So one of the things I'll do is ask ChatGPT for some names, a list of names. Look, it's going to come back with like John Smith. Oh, it wants more information. What kind of names? Okay, baby names. Here's some first names. These are maybe actually helpful since they're the current list of common baby names. But let's do it. This is not very fun practice, right? So let's do it this way. A list of 15 NFL players and format the names like this. John Smith, comma, John, comma, Smith. And I'm gonna also use ChatGPT to help me format things so that it's a little bit easier when I actually get to my steno practice. So here they are, and I forgot something. I'll show you in a minute. All right, good job, good job. Okay, amazing. There's our 15 names. Now, remove the numbers and do not add bullets. I almost always ask ChatGPT to do this. I like to give it the limitation of 15 or 20 names so that I get enough material to practice. But I don't like when it puts the number in front of it. So now I'm going to copy this. First thing I'd probably do is copy it into a Google Doc so that I can access it later, be able to practice that later. I'm actually going to come over here to Natural Readers. This is it is my favorite AI reader, text-to-speech generator. I just find this one to be really easy to use. One of the things I like about it are the very small increments of speed you can adjust. I find that to be really, really helpful, especially when you're doing something like names. If you were to do this at 360 words per minute, it would probably sound pretty garbagey, so we're going to slow it down a little bit here. Another reason I like natural readers are for the voices that they have. These Plus AI voices are very natural sounding. With a free account, you have a certain character limit that you can access for free every day. I do actually pay for that so that I can have access to that. The lower quality voices you get bumped down to are fine. They're not terrible, but some of the absolutely basic ones are kind of garbage. So I found that Davis is actually probably the easiest one, especially when we're doing finger spelling here or numbers practice. He just seems to read the most clear. So the next thing we'll do is we'll hit play. And I'm gonna being able to have a list like this to plug it into here. If I'm doing hard copy practice, I get distracted, my eyes move around the page, I get lost, I get thinking about something else. When I can plug it into natural readers and listen to it and write along to it, if I get distracted, I can come right back to it, and with a lot less effort, a lot less friction. I also like natural readers because sometimes, depending on the material, I like to read as I'm writing and kind of practice, hard copy and listening sort of all at the same time. So That's one reason I use natural readers as opposed to just practicing from the hard copy. You certainly could do that as well with the material from ChatGPT or other material as well. So this is actually the list of drills that I created for myself this week. I decided to try something different and do some different serial names. I also like to do a little numbers practice every day. I was going to try out these serial numbers. These are also randomly generated from natural readers, and I think from ChatGPT. And I think what I did is I asked it for a random list of mixed numbers and letters. And then I said, please put a dash after every fourth character. And then it came back like this. So again, I used it to help me format the exercise so that it makes it easier for Davis and natural readers to read it to me. When it comes to numbers practice, I'll also ask ChatGPT to generate a list of numbers, put a comma after each one. It will, again, you can give it these parameters as far as how many numbers, a comma after each one, and a line break after every, 6 numbers. And then something I do all the time is I ask ChatGPT to do it 2 times or 3 times in a row, because if you're practicing for accuracy and you're practicing at the right speed for accuracy and you make a mistake, you need to correct that mistake. So by having everything read 2 or even 3 times, it gives you that time to immediately correct that mistake, as opposed to, I'll get it later, I'll just ignore it. You probably won't go back and get it later. If you ignore it too many times, you're never going to learn it. So repeating that material kind of forces you to encounter that sooner rather than later. So again, this is a list of numbers that was generated and then formatted like this by ChatGPT that I can plug in to natural readers and have Davis read for me as well. All right. So I like to do names and numbers practice pretty much every single day. We do different names, different numbers. ChatGPT, you can ask it for, give me dollar amounts between $10 and $30, including cents. Randomize them. We want $25 amounts. Randomize them. These spelling mistakes don't usually mess ChatGPT up too much. Do not number them or put bullets. I'm going to say repeat each number 2 times with each dollar amount 2 times with a line break after each unique number. Wow, I really cannot spell today. Let's see what it comes up with. This is exactly what I had in mind. These dollar amounts with the dollars and cents repeated 2 times with a line break after each number. One thing I could have done was when I said repeat it 2 times with a comma between and a line break after each one. That might have actually given me really what I wanted, which was $14.73, $14.73. Now, when I take this list and I've reached some sort of limit with ChatGPT here because I've been practicing for this video. That's not what I wanted to copy. Let's ask Davis to read this. Here's what I really wanted it to look like, was with the $2, 2 of the same amounts on the same line. So let's see. A long pause. Okay, so you can kind of see how formatting it differently affects the spacing of the AI reader. Again, we can adjust the speed to whatever accuracy speed you're working on at that time. So this is another drill. We might do dollar amounts, we might do single digit numbers, double digit numbers, literally whatever you need, phone numbers, clock times, addresses. You should be able to ask ChatGPT for fake addresses. Sometimes you have to help it along the way. It'll give you 123 First Street, 456 Second Street, 789 Third Street. So you might need to help it out a little bit to create some more natural sounding material, but it's in there if you look for it. All right, so that's something extra that I do, but when I first started reviewing my theory, I actually started with the theory. So again, I learned this from Christine Moores, and who told me she had a Magnum Steno theory review partner, and I said, tell me more, because when I got to speed building, I really, really struggled with my theory. I had been sick during my theory class and kind of checked out for a couple of weeks while I was recovering. And when I got to speed building, I just felt like there were huge gaps in my knowledge, and I didn't know how to actually practice it in a meaningful way. And a lot of the advice I received was to start in chapter 1 and write every chapter until you can write it perfectly. And that just didn't work for me because I never made it past chapter 5. I'd get to chapter 5 and say, oh, this is so easy. I don't need to review this. I know this. Well, yeah, of course I knew chapter 5. It was those middle chapters that I was really, really struggling with. Christine's advice was to start at the end of the book. And that was maybe the game changer as far as momentum goes, because that's what you really need to know. Now, I've been talking about Magnum Theory. Hopefully you're familiar with it. If you're not, this video may not be so helpful from this point on, but the Magnum Theory book is intense. It is very complicated. And another reason I think the 1 chapter a week advice didn't work for me is that not all chapters are created equal. Every chapter has so much information in it. Some chapters more than others. Some chapters are only theories. Some chapters are very right-hand phrase ender heavy. Some chapters are all vocabulary or all write it out words. And I didn't even know where to start. So I forced myself to look down at the book, and I found that the bulk of those theory concepts are in chapters 32 to 44. Those are those key combinations and those initial and final consonant blend sounds. So my theory review group, we started with chapter 44, and we worked backwards from there, which is maybe not necessary at that point, but I had it in my head we were going to work backwards. We used the sentences from Mark. These are the student sentences that I got as part of my theory class that I never looked at until I decided I was going to really commit to reviewing theory. I took those sentences, I plugged them into natural readers like I showed you. I set it at our testing speed, and hit play, and we floundered. It was terrible. Partly because it was way too fast. This was a concept we hadn't seen in weeks or months at this point. It was like all new words all of a sudden, like we'd never heard these words before in our lives. And it was too hard. So thankfully the group I was working with were really patient, and we made some tweaks into something that really seemed to help. So here's an example from chapter 35, which starts on page 201. These are sentences that are adapted from the sentences that Mark gave. Every time I reviewed theory, I've kind of tweaked it, but I took some of the sentences. The first thing I did was I chopped them up. I made them short little chunks. I did go the extra step to create full complete sentences, but you surely could just go in and hit enter after every comma or after every complete clause or something like that. But making them shorter really, really helped. It felt like we have less new information flying at us as we're listening to the sentences. The next thing you'll see is that each one is repeated 3 times. This is another game-changing thing for me because obviously we also bumped it down to our accuracy speed as opposed to our testing speed. But repeating it 3 times really helps, because the first time you hear it, especially the first day you hear it, you're kind of just like getting your brain used to hearing these new sounds. The second time you hear it, you might fumble around a little bit. The third time, you might get some of those words. In my group, we do this same exercise of the drills and the theory every single day. We repeat the same practice material every day for several days, and that repetition really sinks in. So Mondays, always rough, hearing new material for the first time. By Thursday or Friday, we're writing pretty good and pretty clean at our accuracy speed. Some of us maybe more than others, depending on the chapter. But repeating it 3 times really forces you to focus on each word as you hear it, and to make those adjustments as you're writing, as opposed to hearing something once and then never hearing it again, or hearing it in a completely different context. So these short sentences and repeated 3 times. Now, the sentences from Mark are pretty long and rambly, and you could certainly, like I said, go through every 10 words, put a line break, and just call that a sentence, right? Like I said, went the extra step to make actual sentences. I have also used ChatGPT and a list of words that I copy pasted from the word generator. Copy paste that list into ChatGPT and ask it to write sentences. My trick is that I will say to use 3 words in every sentence. Write short sentences and use 3 words in every sentence. And that really creates sentences like this here, because the goal is to practice the theory. The goal is not always to practice the phrase enders and the write it out words and all of this extra noise. We want to practice the actual theory. An example is in chapter 35, I think. This is the it'll and it'll ending, like meddle and battle, tattle, settle. But chapter 35 also has the states, and Mark has a way of writing the states in one stroke. I think that's fantastic. I know that I will write Kentucky and Indiana probably more than I will write Montana and Arizona and Hawaii and Vermont. Not that I'll never write those words, but I really want to learn the briefs that are going to be most important to me. So when I tweaked the sentences from Mark, I took out all of those random states, and I made sure to put in the states that I really wanted to practice, including the state that I live in, my group members, and the states surrounding the states that we live in. So again, that was an extra step. I probably didn't need to take that. But I really wanted to practice on the theory. I didn't want to practice all of the noise. So these are sentences from that chapter as well. Chapter 52, this is after we review the actual theory. When I became very comfortable with creating that practice material and running the show with that, I said, okay, we started with 30 minutes to review 32 to 44. After a couple of months of doing that, I was ready for more. And I was like, I'm ready for more right-hand phrase enders. I'm ready for some more vocabulary. There's so much information out there. There's so much in that book. But it's hard to know what to do. And my advice would be to don't try to do it all at once. Get super specific and then build from there so that you can do more over time. So this is our schedule for next week. Obviously, July 1st is, oh my gosh, it's tomorrow. That's crazy. Okay, so chapter 52. Now, not all of Magnum Steno chapters are created equal. Not all of the student sentences are created equal. Chapter 52 also includes the right-hand phrase enders for try to, and trying to. Very helpful, but to me, that's a problem for another day. I really wanted to practice some of this vocabulary, these jury charge terms, and I really wanted to practice the find phrase enders and must phrases. So instead of using Mark sentences, this is a place where I copy pasted the words from the word generator, and I asked ChatGPT, write short sentences Use 3 words in every sentence. Repeat them 3 times with a line break after each sentence. Do not number and do not add bullets. This is more or less what ChatGPT gave me. I love it. It's difficult practice. This is going to be a challenge when we sit down and write this, especially for the first time on Monday. Maybe not as much of a challenge since jury charge tends to be so familiar. When we did some medical terms, oh my gosh, day 1 was pretty overwhelming. One thing that ChatGPT did not do with this is it ignored all of the must phrases and find phrases that I really wanted. So again, I copy pasted the chunk of words from the word generator, and I asked ChatGPT to write sentences using those phrases, and those start somewhere right here. I found, if I find, we found, you must have been. These are those phrases from that list. Now, I also gave it some of the words from the chapter. I don't think I included all of the words from the word generator, so that the sentences would still kind of fit chapter 52. We're still getting that target vocabulary. I like it to include 3 words from the sentence or from my list in each sentence, because otherwise it'll use 1 word and then the rest of the sentence will be just this like fanciful fantasy life about going to the zoo and eating ice cream and running into celebrity. It will have nothing to do with the actual content that we're trying to practice, whether that's theory or in this case, this limited vocabulary. The goal is to practice that content as much as possible. So that's what that looks like. Now on Monday, tomorrow, I'm going to hit Control A and I'm going to copy paste this into, here's our good friend Davis with, whoops, did it again, natural readers, and I'm going to hit play. And I guess one thing I didn't mention is how many sentences. I don't really count. I usually give it a number and then I tweak it so many times, and this number may or may not be accurate, but on Monday we'll probably run through the drills and we'll run through, we might hit play and we'll play for 2 minutes and then I'll hit pause and my group will talk about it. We'll go back to the book. We'll check the dictionary. We'll share our favorite briefs and phrases. We'll let our brain start to process this. Take a deep breath, take a sip of water, then come back, hit play, and continue writing. Like I've mentioned, Mondays are always the hardest. The goal on Monday is just to get your brain listening and hearing these words in this really compact, really efficient group of sentences. Every day we're practicing the same material, so your brain does less work of trying to figure out what's going on and is able to spend more energy in drilling and digging those words in more than if you were just to hear it in a random dictation somewhere else. So we'll do some of the sentences. We won't do all of them on Monday. Even by Thursday or Friday, we might not do all of the sentences that I've prepped, but we'll work through a good number of them. And I like to spend about 30 minutes working on the drills and additional vocabulary, and then about 30 minutes still focused on the theory as much as possible. There's a little bit of chit-chat in my theory review group. Most of the chit-chat has to do with sharing briefs and phrases and that kind of thing, asking questions about the theory, helping each other out, sharing resources, and encouragement as we keep going. But this is the best way that I have figured out to review Magnum Theory, using our good friend Davis, using our good friend ChatGPT to help generate material when I don't have the creative energy to do that, using those sentences from Mark as kind of a baseline or a starting point for practicing theory. Those are some of the issues that I found with the sentences. Like I said, they don't always match up with what exactly I want to practice, so I have to use the word generator or ChatGPT. limitations within ChatGPT. Sometimes it doesn't follow my directions. Giving it an example is usually uh, a pretty good way to get what you want out of it. Like I did with the names here, natural readers and Davis. And oh my gosh, doing this with a friend. You could certainly do this on your own. Doing it with a friend just takes a lot of the work. It takes a lot of the workload out of you or away from you because um, it's just so much easier to go through with someone else. I put a lot of effort into this practice material, as I'm sure you could see. If I felt comfortable, I might, delegate. Uh, you certainly could delegate with your practice partner or practice group and take turns creating and formatting those sentences to share with each other. I don't know why I take all the work on myself, but I do. So I put all of this work in, but I share it with others so that others can benefit too. I always save everything to my Google Drive so that in a couple of weeks when these chapters come up again, I don't have to create the material. It's already done for me. I can just copy paste it and hit play and start to drill from there. So I hope this was helpful. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I hope I didn't overwhelm you or scare you away from reviewing theory. This has been the most helpful thing I have done as part of my daily practice, and I hope it helps you as well. Please let me know if you have any questions at all. Thank you.